With the amount of disappointing Boston Bruins losses as of late, there's much conversation going on about who on this Boston Bruins team is going to be traded. And after a recent post-game quote from Brad Marchand, fans are starting to realize that nothing is off the table for this Boston Bruins team, Cam Neely and Don Sweeney. I'm going to be talking about what Brad Marchand had to say in this video and what implications this has for the Boston Bruins going towards the trade deadline here in this video. Before we get into it, though, we know 70% of you guys watching right now are not subscribed to the channel. As you know, we're on the road to 6K with the ultimate goal of surpassing the Boston Bruins. And your support has been absolutely incredible lately. We appreciate all of you guys watching this video. If we can get to 6K, let's say by the end of the month, that would be absolutely incredible. And, ultimately, we're here for a long time. We got a lot of stuff to cover, and this is going to be a very busy few months, and you won't want to miss what we have to bring you. But without any further ado, let's get into our first topic here of the video, which is Brad Marchand's quote on the whole rumors going around with his name getting surrounded in trade talks after the game against the Winnipeg Jets. And this comes from Scott McLaughlin here on Twitter. Brad Marchand says, "I'm not really worried about what's being said in the media. At the end of the day, like I said, they're going to make decisions for the group that they feel is necessary. I have no control over that." Now, as a Boston Bruins fan, as a Brad Marchand fan, this is a very scary quote. Looking at Brad Marchand, normally what he's been saying is pretty much just he's not dealing with it. He's not listening to it, but he kind of goes further into this one and goes, I have no control. He's like, what the Bruins are going to do, what this team is going to do, what the management is going to do, I have nothing to do with that. They're going to do what they think is right, and he didn't say whether that is the right decision. And obviously, looking at this, he wouldn't go and say, we're not doing whatever, but the way this Bruins team kind of has been structured as of late, the way that this team has been looking to build for the future or whatever they're trying to do for the future, there is no sign of anything going in the right direction. We know the Boston Bruins don't have very many young players. The young players are playing good. They're not bringing them up to get their talent in the NHL. And we've seen, Don Sweeney, Cam Neely, both of these guys pretty much sitting down and watching the rest of the NHL make the moves for their teams and really just kind of go from there. And what Brad Marchand is really, the way he's saying this, very frustrated and looks like he's frustrated with this whole team. Not the Bruins players themselves, but the management of this team. It just doesn't seem like anything is going in the right direction. And we can slowly start to see Brad Marchand throughout the season start to really become annoyed with the way this team is being structured. We've seen him speak out about pretty much everything that's happened so far with this team, but it really seems to a point now where he's continuing that this is just not getting any better than what it is, and we know that it could be better. But we have more, of course, from Brad Marchand. Going kind of further on the we can't control this part, he says, we can't control any decision that is going to be made. We have to do our job every day, and that's all we can worry about right now. And, this is it's a disappointing quote from Brad Marchand. Obviously, he's exactly right. There's nothing that the players can do. They just got to come, play these games, try and play better. But there's only so much a team can do when they have an AHL roster in the NHL right now. What's been put in front of this team, what's been given to this team, what's been given to Joe Sacco even, has not been at all what this Bruins team is used to. They have so many better players in the AHL that can definitely make an appearance in the NHL. Georgi Merkulov, Fabian Lysell, those two guys, it's their time to come up. As I mentioned in a previous video, you're giving Merkulov, who's a UFA, or an RFA, at the end of this season, he has to come up or he's going to walk. There's no way that you're giving this guy who's been in this team, for 3 seasons, the Province Bruins, that is, for 3 seasons after coming out of college, saying, we're going to run with you. You have a part of our team and not going to do anything with him for 3 years. There's no way that you're going to make him stay with that. And it really goes to show that this team is not making any of the right decisions. And continuing again, I have no control of that, so I'm not going to worry what's going on here. Play for the group. As long as I am here, I'm a Boston Bruin. That's what I'm worried about. And that's, once again, another quote from Brad Marchand, kind of continuing off this. A whole bunch of quotes mixed together, all from the same one, but I couldn't really find one that was all in one big prompt other than giving you the full 5-minute post-game interview. So, Brad Marchand wants to say Bruin. There's no doubt about that, but it really seems to him and really seems to us that his reaction is indicating that he don't know what his future holds. It almost seems like, the contract negotiations that there's been on the table, anything like that, has kind of been counted out. We've been seeing Brad Marchand have a market value of $7.5 million. We got an announcement today. The cap is going up by so much over the next few seasons. I believe it's going up $8 million until next season. So you're giving him a $7 million contract. That would more look like exactly what we're seeing right now. And he's your captain. You're not going to fail your captain. If this team trades Brad Marchand, there's going to be so many Bruins fans, including myself, that are not going to be happy. And obviously, you do anything to make this team better. But there are certain players that you don't move. There's certain players that you don't move on from, certain players you don't touch. Now, obviously, it's a business, and I do understand that. I'm sure Brad Marchand understands that as well, but if you want to continue to make this team try and make the playoffs this year, and I've pretty much said it in every video the past few times, it will be very, very tough for this team to make the playoffs by their recent games. This team has shown, a lot of people, and me especially, like, that they cannot win a playoff game, and especially against some of these teams that we've came up against, we've played, they really just show no sign of hope. And if you're doing this, you trade Brad Marchand, he will be a player that will give you a speck of hope in any game, regardless, because he plays 110% every single game. And when you go out and trade him, when you go out and see these quotes come out from Brad Marchand, it's not a fun thing to see as a Bruins fan, especially with the way that we see in the last few seasons for the Bruins go into today. And it really just frustrates me. And I'm sure you guys seen this in the recent videos over, like, in live streams and whatnot, and post games. It really just is painful to look at this team. Do nothing. Do nothing. Game in and game out. Make the right moves. Anything. You have to make a trade. And as I mentioned in yesterday's video, teams are starting to make trades now. Once you see one big trade, it becomes a very big pattern that teams are going to start to make their moves so they don't miss out on the guy they want. The Bruins have missed out on JT Miller. Yanni Gourde's gone out 5-7 weeks. Brock Nelson's still on the table. Elias Pettersson linked to the Columbus Blue Jackets. Those are the top targets that the Bruins have had. And no signs of moves have been made. Now, whether the Bruins start to sell, that's something they have to think about as well. Is Brad Marchand going to be one of them? I hope not, but that is something they're going to have to think about. And it depends how big of a retool, a rejig, a rebuild they want, whatever you want to call it, they're going to make. And we don't know yet what the plan is, and I don't know if we'll ever know, and I don't know if Don Sweeney even knows the trade deadline is coming up on March 7th. It really makes no sense to me that we've seen nothing compared to these other teams in trade reports, in any rumors or links or being linked to anybody over the past few days, and going back to weeks, I would even be willing to put out there. But this is what another quote here from Cam Neely is that I think right now we got to look at two paths, the one we're buying, the one we're retooling just a little bit. That's what he said on January 15th, and he said, I still feel like we have a playoff team here. We certainly don't want to jeopardize getting out of the playoffs because they've made certain moves that may be good for the future, but not good for the present. And looking at this now, looking at what it is today is February 2nd or 3rd, whenever you're watching this, February 2nd for me right now. When we're looking at this is a horrible place to be. Two weeks later, Cam Neely says we have to retool, we have to buy, we have a playoff team, and we can't get out of a playoff spot. First of all, they don't have a playoff team right now. Second of all, they're out of a playoff spot. And everything Cam Neely said that can't happen has happened, which really, to me, indicates they need to be sellers. There's 0 point in buying right now. You trade what you can, get rid of what you can, but keep Brad Marchand. I want to know what you guys have to think about this. And we're looking at Brad Marchand. The final year, 8 years of 8, 37 years old, $6 million right now, has taken so many pay cuts for this team. It is ridiculous. This guy has, helped this team to be where it is today. I wouldn't want to say today, but, build the history of this team to where it is today and over the past few seasons. You need to do him right. You don't do him wrong. And it is time for the Bruins to sell. There's no doubt in my mind that this is the time right now. When we're looking at Brad Marchand, 40 points in 53 games. Guy is still killing it at 36 years of age, heading on to 37. We know that he don't have much time left in his NHL career, but there is no chance in my mind that he has to end it with the Boston Bruins. So, like I said, let me know what you think about all of this. There's a lot of stuff coming out that Bruins fans don't want to hear, a lot of stuff that we want to hear. How much will actually happen? I really have no idea. But ultimately, Brad Marchand's name has been thrown out quite a bit more than we'd like to hear, but there's nothing that us as fans can do about it. As Brad Marchand said, there's nothing that him as a player can do about it other than go out, play the games as a Boston Bruin for the time being. But that's all I got in this video. If you did enjoy, give it a like, hit the sub button as well. But I'm signing out. Thank you for watching. Hope you have a great day. See you later. Cheers.